Okay.
Okay, we're live. Hi, everyone. Hello. Okay, so one more technical thing. I have some slides, so I can do screen share, right?
Mhm.
Okay, hold on. Let me close some stuff here. Okay, and well, also a couple of technical things. So I have this presentation. I prepared it beforehand.
Mhm.
And it mostly covers all the stuff you sent me. I mean, in terms of your questions, like technical ones. So I will go through it, and then I will answer the questions you have from students, and maybe I'll also get back to some of your questions, and as well, then we could wrap it up somehow. And we have about 40 minutes,
We
35, 40.
as much time as you need.
Okay. Well, okay, perfect. Let's
You have
get going.
all that time. It's however long you want to talk.
Okay, first let me also try this before we start. Okay, so screen share. Okay, if I do this, perfect. So you're seeing this now, right? You're seeing the presentation.
I do.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, and now you don't see it.
Nope.
Okay, wonderful. Test of technology passed. That's the hardest thing. Okay, well, in many ways it'll be on the spot because yeah, I had some stuff ready, but okay, well, I think it's just gonna contribute to it being unofficial, the whole thing being unofficial and friendly. How many students do you have, by the way? How big is your group?
It's about 52 students.
Oh man, wow. Okay, now I'm starting feeling nervous. And they gather like 8 p.m. Wow.
6:30 to 9:20.
Okay. Wow. 6:30. Okay. I hated late evening classes.
Yeah.
Luckily, we didn't have much of them in a grad school. But well, we had them back in the day when I was just a bachelor's student. Anyway, perfect. Yeah, let me start. So, hi everyone, and thank you all, and Meredith, first of all, for having me today, even though virtually. Well, it's funny that the speech I'm about to give, perhaps probably it's the most unusual speech for me this far, because at this very moment I'm sleeping in my bed actually, several thousand miles away from you, in Prague, Czech Republic. It's in Europe. So sorry, folks, talking to you live at 3 a.m. In the morning was too much of a commitment for me. So maybe next time, but okay, we'll see. It'll be getting pretty late in your time zone as well. So, I mean, I don't mind if I don't mind you taking a nap too. Not sure if your teacher appreciates that, but still. So please be mindful. But I also, I'll try to keep it short and interesting. While I'm talking, please feel free to bug me on Twitter. So my handle is, hold on a second, I'm gonna show you, it's right there. Okay, so here is my handle, and here is the time difference. Okay, and this is the first slide. I'm going to tell you two stories, talk about my international journalism experiences.
Nick, all of a sudden I can't hear you.
Please raise your hands. Anyone? Okay. Well, I don't see how many of you have ever heard or seen something about Belarus. But today, our writer from Belarus, she was awarded, Svetlana Alexievich, she was awarded with Nobel Prize in Literature. So I'm kind of proud. And well, Belarus is a small country, roughly 1/3 of Texas. By area, it borders Russia and Poland, so it's kind of in the east of Europe. If you search on Google Map, right here, you can see it. Well, some call it the last dictatorship in Europe because of our president, who's serving his 4th term in a row, and he's about to get reelected one more time this weekend. So yeah, we're gonna have fun elections this weekend, but it's not as bad as many of you may have heard, because, well, it's not nearly North Korea. Yeah, we do have some issues. Most importantly to me, that our LTE networks were shut down in 2011 for commercial reasons. So we had to use 3G plus instead. So mobile internet is kind of sluggish. Just kidding. No, I mean, but things are getting better. But anyway, okay, so I'm from Belarus, and it's far from there, from the US, obviously. And I've been doing tech reporting there for quite a while, for more than a decade. But then sometime around 2011, I decided to go global. And by going global, fast forward several years, I got my master's in journalism from UNC Chapel Hill. I worked with the Wall Street Journal in San Francisco, and also I wrote for them from Kiev, Ukraine. And now I got to work with Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty in Prague. So that's my story. It's really simple. Yeah. Okay. Well, by the way, so in Prague, I'm a senior social media producer, which means I'm overseeing production, and, well, I write and create content myself for a bunch of different digital platforms. Okay, so I have 2 stories, and my first one, well, it's about my road, my path in journalism. So let's go 8 years back. Let's turn a couple of pages backwards, and this is the year is 2007, and, well, in 2007 there have been just 2 months, several months until my graduation, and I was lucky, so I had 2 job offers. I've recently, so I've been doing journalism during my whole time at the university. And my first degree was in radio engineering, which is quite far from, as far as it can get from journalism, right? So it's pretty technical. And one of the jobs I was trying for was a position as a network planner for telecoms company. So I was trying to get a position of a telecoms engineer. So I would plan, how these base stations should be situated around the town, so you would get best signal, best coverage. So I was just walking down the street, and I got a call from these folks from the telecoms company, and they told me, okay, so thank you so much for the interview, etc., etc. You were accepted. So here is what we can offer you. And, well, if you happy and if you're ready, so just, you can have some time to think about it, but we would be happy if you start as soon as possible. That was good, but also, I mean, throughout my whole time in the university, and before that in high school as well, I was doing journalism. So I was writing about technology. I was interested in computers and radio all my life, but the journalism was true passion. And I was working at the time I was working at the biggest Belarusian portal. So I was starting technology section of it. So I was an editor, but also I didn't have many people to edit. So I was also a writer, and I was also doing like a bunch of other things, as well as a little bit of programming for the website. So, and well, I mean, oh, this is the base station, and this is the company I was working for, but that's obviously not 2007. So I had to decide basically which path to choose, and well, as they say, you know, follow your heart, etc., etc. It's kind of easy to say, hard to do. But in my case, it worked. So, I mean, after some consideration, and well, by the way, talking about money, so both jobs paid around the same level. I mean, that was like really entry level salary. I was happy with any salary at the time because I didn't have family, didn't have kids. But I mean, so the conditions were pretty much the same. Both big companies, just like totally different sectors, segments, and politics. So, you know, and well, I had to sleep with that. You know, what to do, what to choose. And after careful consideration, I decided I should stay in journalism. And as far as I can, you know, looking back, as far as I can see, it was the right decision. So do what you love. I know it sounds so you've heard it so many times, but in fact, it does really play out well, even for journalists. And you know how dire straits we are today in terms of, you know, job situation, etc. But I mean, if you specialize, and that's, you see here the second part, and persevere, third, you can succeed in whatever you do, and I guess you'll be doing something connected with journalism or media or whatnot. And by specialization, I mean I was doing technology reporting for quite a while. And in technology, I mean, you have to have some special knowledge. And writing about technology is not about, you know, like reviewing latest iPhones. Oftentimes, it's also, well, it's also about writing about some complex things that you need to carefully to fully understand and know how to simply explain it to your audience. And it also helps when, you know, when you talk to people and they understand that you kind of know what you're asking them about, and you're not just a random person, but you're really invested. That's super helpful. So whatever you love, just find like a small niche and make sure you're the best or one of the best people who are covering or who are working in that niche. So it may be fashion, it may be tech, and well, by fashion and tech, these are pretty broad areas. So just pick whatever you really want to cover and focus. And third is perseverance. Well, I mean, just try and try. When I applied for my internship in the journal first year, of course, I applied to all the, you know, like the big names. And of course, I got rejected because I didn't have many clips in English. And well, it was my first year as a grad student. So it was hard, but I mean, then, I mean, I kept digging, I kept networking with right people and trying to get in touch with the people who may be influencing, you know, this, who may have a say in this hiring process. And I was talking to people and I was figuring out how do I get a nice internship? And in fact, it worked. So I got a internship with the Wall Street Journal in San Francisco. and that, well, for me was like pure happiness. That was as high as you can get as a tech journalist, writing about technology from the very heart of Silicon Valley. Well, that's not exactly Silicon Valley, but still. So 3 points. I mean, when you getting back to the first story, just focus on what's important to you. And well, I mean, obviously you can make some bucks working at McDonald's or elsewhere. And I know personally, I know a guy who's a graduate in mathematics, so he has a bachelor's in mathematics, and he's selling selling hamburgers. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I mean, if it's not what you love, you should think about how you could do what you love and get paid for it. It may be tough, but again, getting back, specialize, persevere, and you'll be successful with that. My second story, again, it was in Belarus. I was actually thinking which story I want to tell you as a second one, and I thought like this relates so much to all the international stuff going on these days. So that was in 2011, and I remember it was nice morning in spring in April 2011, and I just recall it so clearly, like it was today. So I was driving my wife to job, and when we left the apartment and we closed it, I just realized, okay, I forgot my DSLR, my camera at home. And I told myself, like, hey, so you've been bringing your camera to work every day. And I was not like a photo correspondent, so I just taken it with me, just in case. Sometimes you may need it. So, and I've been bringing this camera for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I never really needed this. So I thought, well, okay, well, what else can happen? So. And well, as you guess, something really bad happened. So just several hours from this moment in time, when I had this thought, I was rushing my way through like the half-block streets of the capital of Belarus, Minsk, because we had a bombing. We had a terrible blast in our subway. And well, it was big. I mean, like in Belarus, like nothing really happens. Like people are not getting killed on the streets, and blast, like bombing in metro, is like something like completely unbelievable. So everybody was scared, and it was a huge news. So I was rushing there, trying to get like some pieces of for the story. And well, obviously I couldn't get like right to the scene by car, so I had to park, and then I just ran. Like I was also trying to avoid, like the police blocked some roads, so I was trying to get there from the using a different road. And I was meeting people who just got out of subway of metro from the metro station where it happened, and I started interviewing them, and it was like really tough because. So I met the guy, and he has like crazy look on his face, and he was all like covered in dust, and he had this eye. So he was like really, he looked like a crazy person. But well, I knew what happened. So and he was telling me the story, and I had my smartphone with me, so I just recording the videos. But I mean, it was so tragic, and it was also so touching when I came to when I arrived to the scene. I've seen like some people were crying, like some people were trying to reach someone by phone, and the phones won't answer, and well, many people were just hugging each other and crying. So it was really tough. Yeah, you can see some of the pictures. So all the ambulance. Yeah, well, I haven't seen stuff like this. Like bloody people. I came a little bit too late for that, but I still had a chance to meet with many people who were right at the scene at the moment the bomb exploded. So, couple of points, and after that, I told myself, okay, well, I'm not that type of person. I'm never gonna be a war reporter, and I'm never gonna be a conflict reporter because it's tough. I mean, it's emotionally very difficult. But well, I found myself last year writing about the conflict in Ukraine, and I was literally counting how many people got killed and wounded each day. It was also tough. So basically, reporting is tough. I mean, it's not only nice thing you want to write. You're gonna need to call to parents of people who were just killed, and ask them like, hey, so what do you feel now when your son is gone or when your only son is gone? And all the things like that. I don't know if you have ever experienced that yet. I guess many of you did experience something similar. But yeah, reporting is tough, and don't fool yourself. I mean, international reporting is mostly about wars and conflicts. I mean, like this is the stuff that sells, blood sells. So think of international, when we're talking about international reporting, it's going to be blood and gore and conflict and tears and pain and sweat. So if you really want to do international reporting, just be ready for that. And the next part here, which is, I mean, it's part from my story. Languages. So English, which is really cool. And I bet you will be working for English language media. But again, if we're talking international reporting, languages, they just rock. So make sure you learn at least one or two or three or more, because it's very important. So and well, maybe in part that's why I got my job here. I got my job in Ukraine. Languages and specialization that would always help you to get to get what you need in terms of good positions. And I can give you an example, very simple example. So in Ukraine, they speak two languages. So they have Ukrainian, they have Russian. I won't get too deep into trenches. You can look it up, but basically there is a conflict, and Russian language is now Ukrainians try to use Russian language less than they were using it before. So when I came to Ukraine, I kind of knew Ukrainian, but very soon I realized that I need to focus on it, because all the important stuff, say on the website of the president, or like their televised speeches or the interviews, most officials would speak Ukrainian, and the stuff on the website of the president, it will first get published in Ukrainian. Maybe in several hours it'll get translated to Russian and English. But I mean, if we are in the news business, that's the eternity. So yeah, you have to know the language of the country you're going to work from. And in Ukraine, I figured out that many people working there, they only knew Russian because it's more common language than Ukrainian. And so they found themselves in that situation where they needed like special translators, because as I told you, many things would get published first in Ukrainian, or first said in Ukrainian. Okay, so languages, very important. Super important. Okay, what's next? Well, nothing is given as easily as advice. I have a bunch of things I'd like to share with you in terms of advice. Perhaps most importantly, throughout my career in tech reporting, international reporting, in whatever you do as a journalist, be skeptical. Just challenge and question everything. If you see a video claiming that it's a video from I don't know, whatever, Syria, just make sure it's from Syria, because oftentimes, we are all busy. We have these shortcuts. So okay, so there is a plane. There's like something probably Arabic. So this must be Syria, and well, we're fine with that. We add it to a story. Well, if you have good editor, they will teach you how to be skeptical, how to challenge and question, and I bet you have great teachers at your university. But still, I mean, just whenever you feel that something is so obvious that you don't really need to care about it, I mean, this should throw a bunch of red flags for you. So, I mean, and it's so easy. So back in the day, again, in Belarus, we had like somebody claimed like, okay, so the guards at, so security people at some department store, they attacked me because I was taking something. They thought I was taking something from the store, but I wasn't, etc., etc. And I mean, like, so his story was so coherent, and well, we were not. We don't think high of security guards, right? So and he was like a really nice person, and so he has his detailed account, and we couldn't reach the department store for comments easily. So they would just hang up on us. And well, so we published the story. We tried to stay balanced and unbiased, but I mean, like, we only had one side of the story, and we had the other side, and we basically said that the other side declined to comment and they wouldn't respond to the comments. So in the story had this huge public outrage. People were commenting and like, oh my God, so how this could have happened, like, this is so crazy, this should never have happened. And after a couple of days, so the store, they were not commenting for some reason. I don't really know why, but in a couple of days, when they felt like there was a huge public outrage, they published a video from security cameras. And then on security cameras, so the situation was shown in quite different light. So the guy actually, I don't remember specifically what it was, but looks like he was drunk and he was actually trying to take something from the store. But well, whatever. So I am just telling you that you should be super, super careful, especially in the situations when you think which is white and which is black. Just double check with your colleague, check with your teacher, with your editor, because it's very complicated. And nowadays, when it's so easy to infuse any information, any fake, and it's pretty easy to make it look good. Just it's very important for us, for journalists and editors, to challenge, to question everything. Well, I sort of told you that you need to learn languages. It's, again, super important. And, well, the more the better. And, again, I told you this. So specialize, focus, prioritize. This would be the best thing I can tell you in terms of how to get where you want to be. Okay, now perhaps most importantly, be optimistic. You'll get a job that will make you happy. I mean, no matter how bad the situation is, say, in journalism. I mean, we'll get there. We'll. I mean, you may be pretty happy with running your personal blog and earning decent money, or you may be working for some types of media outlets that don't even exist now. Okay, before we go here, let me plug my computer, my laptop. Hold on a second.
And for those of us in the audience, this would be a good time to tweet Nick questions that you have that he hasn't already addressed in the talk. And he will get back to you when he has some time. Keep in mind that he's asleep when we're actually watching this video.
Okay, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, cool. So, but you cannot see my screen now, right?
I can't see it right now. We could see it before.
Okay, so the presentation was okay, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me get back to this screen share mode. Share. Okay, well, hello again, everybody. Sorry for this small technical issue. So a couple of words on my experience with the journal and RFERL and how is it different. Well, in the journal, I've been working as a stringer from Kiev. The most recent, my most recent position was a stringer from Kiev. But basically, it was, anytime during day and night on call, whatever happens, bombing or new new issues on the front lines, or world leaders are coming to visit, or American officials are coming to visit. So anytime this happens, I had to be right there. I had to report from the scene and do it as fast and accurate and complete as possible. Luckily, I had a bunch of awesome, fantastic colleagues covering my back. So the main team was in Moscow, but I was also closely collaborating with people in London, Brussels, New York, and elsewhere. So cool, nice perk of working in a big international organization is, you basically have people working everywhere across the globe. So it was kind of fun, but it was also quite a challenge, so it was very difficult oftentimes to plan because if something happened, like bombing or something unexpected breaks, you're basically the only person on the ground, and you just need to rush to the scene, or you need to cover it in some way. So you turn on TVs and you start calling people immediately. And so it's tough being a sort of one person covering everything in the country. But again, the journal, they also have some people that would go to the front lines to the west. I was only stationed in Kiev. Not only for safety reasons, but also, oftentimes the news would pop up here and at the front lines as well. So my colleagues oftentimes went to the front lines in the east, and I was in Kiev. So we had this communications with them, with Moscow office, with editors in New York, and also, so we had a bunch of different time zones. Again, we had a bunch of different cutoff times for publishing the stuff for the paper. So yeah, it was fun, but also challenging and demanding. So if you are going to be an international correspondent, again, it's not pure fun and joyful work as you may expect. And I was talking to one colleague again back in Kiev, and so we were having beers together, and she said "Oh, well, finally, that's this Sunday gonna be the first my day off this month." And I said, "Oh my God, you gotta be kidding me." And she said, "No, well, we are understaffed here." And she also worked for a pretty big international organization. And she said, "Well, we have so much stuff going on and we don't have many people. So I had to take shifts so she basically worked 24/7, 7 days a week. And this is really tough." So again, just don't think of international reporting being easy and fun. It is to some extent, but it also very demanding, and it is taking heavy toll on your personal life as well. And that was one of the reasons I decided to part with this position. At RFERL, it's quite different because here we do report in Russian, so the main working language for the stuff we publish, at least at the project I'm working on. And it's sort of like new startup within the company, and it's called Current Time, currenttime.tv. And it's very, very different from the things that Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty typically does. And I've just started here a couple of months ago, so I'm still getting used to it. Cannot tell you much, not only because of NDAs and things like that, but also, I mean, I'm still getting adjusted to organization. It feels very different to the journal, because the journal was so oriented on, like scoops and this like business side of things, while RFERL, obviously, it's more focused on politics, economy, and also some social implications. And it's also more about, so it's widely presented in the region. So I feel like the journal also, they had like a bunch of bureaus, but here literally in every country, former Soviet Union country, we have a bureau, we have some people, and we have pretty big audience. So here we're mostly trying to focus them, and we try to work with our regional services and make sure the content is gets properly promoted online. Okay, let me stop this now. Okay, you can hear me. And let me get to your questions. I've seen a bunch of pretty good ones. I got them just several hours ago, so I didn't have a chance yet to prepare, so it'll be on the spot. But I hope it'll be interesting. Okay, so, and also a bunch of questions from Meredith that I may have not covered yet. When I first decided to go into journalism, I think I mentioned this. So yeah, well, no, actually I didn't. So first I started in school. So I was writing, I mean, we had to write compositions back at my Russian classes in 9th grade. Was it 9th grade? Okay. So I wrote a bunch of them, and I felt like I really enjoy it. And my teacher, huge thanks to her, she encouraged me to say to continue. And she said, "Well, you did a pretty good job with those things." I wrote something about HIV positive guy or girl. Anyway, but so I wrote a bunch of them, and she set me up with a person who was doing a literature-focused newspaper for youngsters, for teens. So I joined this team, and then I went on to write about the stuff I loved, and I loved video games. So I started writing about video games, and then I moved on to technology, and it was hardware, hardware reviews, printers, whatever we had, like a bunch of different things. And then I moved on to technology and IT and business side of IT finally. And well, now I feel like I'm getting into economy, politics, and some other things, but I also love technology as well. So that's how I got into journalism. So, your English teachers and your journalism teachers, I mean, you all have your own path, your own, trajectory that led you into the class you're sitting in right now. And again, well, as Job said, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. So I'm pretty sure that in the future, if you're gonna set a bunch of goals where you want to be in a couple of years, whatever you do, you'll figure out. And if you do it, wholeheartedly, if you really passionate, well, again, like passionate is such an overused word. But anyway, yeah, if you really focus and if you really want this to happen, you'll get there. So just keep pushing. How news was presented when you were growing up? This is fun. Well, obviously we didn't have internet, we didn't have mobile phones, we didn't have pretty much anything. So I was reading a lot of newspapers. I was watching TV from time to time. Yeah, I think like TV was the biggest one. TV, newspapers, yeah, maybe some magazines as well. Radio, it wasn't that big, at least for me. So my work history in journalism, you've heard something about.
A follow-up question before we go on to the next one. So one of the things that we learned about is the 4 theories of the press and how news is made around the world. So we learned about the authoritarian system, the libertarian system, the Soviet communist system, social responsibility, and the developmental press. Do you know which one the press in Belarus would have fit into while you were growing up?
I'm pretty sure it's authoritarian. The regime is considered to be authoritarian. But again, I mean, like, there are like different traits of the whole system. But I mean, I figure out, so obviously, so in Belarus, we have, state-owned press and we have private press. Like independent companies, and these are quite different, very different animals, very different types. But also in authoritarian regimes, in authoritarian press, it's really hard to get information. I mean, well, it's kind of also hard to get information in democratic states as well, but for different reasons. So, but here it was really hard to work with the government. So, I mean, we had no such things as Freedom of Information Act. So we cannot just go and sue the government because in that case, most likely it's the journalist who is going to end up in jail. So yeah, in Belarus it was authoritarian, but I was mostly covering technology. So, and this was somewhat different. So in technology, like even like all the government officials that regulate technology, they were sort of sometimes better and more accessible than people who would be focused on agriculture. So yeah, and when I came to the US and I started, like when you first come, you start like finding similarities and differences. So we had a bunch of similarities, but we also had a bunch of differences. So as I told you, so also in democratic states, people won't release a lot of information. So I think at UNC, somebody told me that like people were trying like suing government all the time, and they were just not releasing the stuff. So until it would be like too late. So you can go through the whole process, and you're gonna spend like several months, and well, you can get the information when you don't really need it anymore.
We kind of have appearance of a democratic press, is what you're saying.
Yes, yeah, basically. So, well, in authoritarian regimes, there are also nice perks because well, I'm saying nice in quotes because like a lot of stuff goes unregulated. So people in the countries as mine, they don't care much about copyright issues. Oftentimes journalism ethics, it's very different. I mean, like people won't post like dead bodies, on the front page. But in terms of ethics, quotation, citations, all the things like that. I mean, in the US, you have to when you recording people, well, it depends on the state, but it's kind of good idea to let them know that you're recording. And our country, like, nobody really even ever cared. So, I mean, it's assumed that if you're a reporter, yeah, and I know, well, as a good reporter, you would say, like, okay, so we're on the record now. I comfortable with that. But I mean, like, this is not just, like, people won't care about it. And they won't expect. But, well, as in the US, in Belarus, people would want, questions, like list of questions before the interview. They would like to review the story you're writing about them, all the things. So, so many things are very similar between the two systems, because, people are the same. PR people would want to, divulge you from your main points, and they would not release the information you really asked them to release. They would just send you comments that you would not be able to use, or like. So yeah, in many ways it's very similar. Okay. Knowledge and skills. So yeah, I think my passion and my love for technology and computers and coding, so I can code stuff. I think that helped me a lot. And I was actually in Belarus, in the US, in Ukraine. I was creating some small tools for myself that.
Okay, everyone, we seem to be frozen. I'm not really sure what's going on. Hopefully, we'll get Net back on the line in a few seconds. If not, I hope the video has been informational and that you picked up something from it. So we'll
Top
wait.
ranking.
There we go. We lost you.
Oh, sorry. So when did you lose me exactly? What I was saying?
Right after you wrapped up talking about the press and the differences between.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I just thought. I mean, I lost your video, but I for some reason I thought you just closed it. Okay, so well, basically, yeah. I just moved on to another question: knowledge and skills that you develop in school that help you get where you are today. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the skills. And I was saying that perhaps most importantly, one of the most important skills I got and I developed in school, in grad school as well, is coding. So you need to know how to code, even to the basic extent. And I know it's being taught in journalism schools now as well. So I urge you guys and girls to make sure at least you know something about how it all operates. And well, you don't even have to, write like a full-fledged program, an app, create an app, though it would have been nice. But oftentimes you just need to, put some pieces of a puzzle together to create a really nice story. So you may want to add a map, you want a beautifully styled map, and you may also want to embed something from Twitter and Instagram, etc., etc. So all these things, I mean, they not necessarily need you to know coding well, but you have to know how HTML works, how CSS works, how JavaScript works oftentimes. And I know a bunch of people who graduated with me from the university I graduated from UNC Chapel Hill, who got really nice jobs at top tier news organizations, and they're doing programming for them. So they're creating cool story packages, with all this nice animations and this like this snowfall type things. So the stuff that needs to be coded. And also you can create tools for yourself. I was given an example when it was cut off. I was given an example that in Ukraine, I created like a special robot for myself that would ping specific websites, and if something like really breaking comes up, it would send me an email immediately. So there are sort of commercial products that would allow you to do roughly the same thing, but well, you have to pay for them, and they were not also doing exactly what I wanted them to do. So it was really easier for me, at least, to create it on my own. And I mean, this skill, being able to deal easily with computers, it helped me tremendously. So that's one skill. And another is languages. So whenever you have a chance to chat, to mingle with international folks, to get a new language, go for it. What language specifically, it will depend on you. It would depend on what region you want to work in. I mean, I think Chinese is pretty popular. Spanish, obviously Spanish, maybe Russian. I'm kind of biased here because I speak Russian, but I think Russian is, it's getting pretty popular. Unfortunately, as we getting back to Cold War type rhetoric, I think Russian is getting more popular now. So yeah, languages and coding, that's the most important things. Okay, now to your questions. What's the biggest challenge facing journalists at your organization? I mean, I just arrived here, so it's really hard to tell. I don't want to be overcritical. I just feel, we have many people who were with the radio since the very beginning, since like this old Cold War days in 1960s, and they know and they embrace digital, but they're not digital natives. So I feel that with project like ours, with some other initiatives, the radio is trying to reinvent itself one more time for the digital age, to make more millennials come work for it, and adjust it fully for the digital age. And I think this successful adjustment is also, it's the biggest challenge. Probably the other biggest challenge, and it's not for our organization, it's for any media organization that is working for Russian-speaking people, is countering Russian propaganda, which is really strong. And I mean, sometimes it's unbelievable how brainwashed people could be. I'm not talking only about Russia, but about some other countries as well. I mean, within the reach of Russian TV channels, some Russian TV channels at least. So dealing with this informational superpower, that's a huge challenge for not only for our organization, but also for any serious media organization working in the region. How does RFRL differ from commercial journalism station? Well, we don't need to care that much about, luckily, advertising, selling stuff and, selling reports and trying to get money for this and this and this. We have obviously budget constraints. I think so. I mean, I don't know, but I would assume so. So this is a big difference, but also, there are many, many similarities. So we are hunting for scoops. We are striving for really good, brilliant, unbiased, fair, and high quality journalism. So And in our in this okay. So, and on this mission, we don't really need to care that much about what our advertisers say. This is a big plus. And for commercial journalism, I think, despite they have to, they have to deal with advertisers, or they have to find another good business models for them. So this is huge pain in the neck. But on the other hand, I think this is what may also help them in terms of, when you're constantly pushed by, hey, we need to, by the lack of money, by like huge competition, this is very beneficial for this commercial type of journalism. But well, frankly, having worked at a bunch of different media organizations, though I never have worked at the government-funded company before VRL. Every type has its own benefits, and every type has its own disadvantages. So if our VRL is sponsored with government funding, how can we know it's not producing propaganda? That's a good question. If you go to rvrl.org and if you click about fast facts and frequently asked questions, there is a question almost in the very end, and it basically, so the question is the same, and the answer is, our governing board, BBG, Board of Broadcasters, it serves as
Frozen again.
commercial folks. That's roughly the same. So when you have advertisement supported journalism, well, that's a big issue that you. Okay, am I frozen? Hey, hello. Okay, cool. So you missed some part of my answer. Which one? That's fine. Well, the connection here may be lousy, slightly lousy. Oh yeah, so when you go to our VRL or .org website, to the very end, and there is an answer basically to this question. So our governing board, the BBG, serves by law as a firewall to protect our editorial independence. And personally, I haven't ever ran into any issues like that. So yeah, I mean, as in commercial media, there's also this problem that may come up or may not come up with the advertisers when the advertisers would like to influence your coverage. And I'm pretty sure that in good government supported media organization and in a good commercial media organization, these things should be firewall from what the editorial team does. So yeah, we're not producing propaganda. The most underreported global story right now. That's a good question. I wish I knew the answer, and then I would report on the story. I think. I think there is something very important going on in energy, in commodities. Well, so we all track oil and energy, right? But and renewable energy as well. But I think that the impact of it on ordinary people in different countries, it may be slightly unreported. So we talk a lot about, oil prices and global economy, but, for your average Joe in different countries, living in, wherever in Europe, I mean, dropping oil is actually good news. So less, energy monthly bills go down. It's cheaper to fill in the tank. But on the other hand, if you're a country like Russia or Norway, you're very dependent on the energy prices because you're an exporter. So this kind of like balance or lack of balance, I think that is somewhat underreported. We write a lot about global impact on macroeconomical level. We don't write much about the effects of this tectonic shifts on the energy markets throughout the globe, about its impact on ordinary people, not in the US, but across the globe. And I think we're seeing some impact already, and we're going to see it more in the future as, if the prices continue, if oil prices will continue to drop. But again, on the spot, it's really hard to tell. I mean, if I knew it, I'll be working on this instead of chatting with you. No, I mean, I love to chat with you anyway. Thanks again for having me over. Okay, I think we're running out of time. Just real quick, a bunch of other questions. What's your opinion on citizen journalism? I think it's great. I think we should encourage this. But again, it may be difficult. You have to be like super careful, and you have to be super skeptical about what many people would write, because again, like oftentimes you read a story and say, oh my God, poor lady, poor guy, and then you figure out like the important details that were amiss in this first account. So just be really careful with that. Oh well, okay. It's been a long day here.
Done great.
Yeah. Okay, but you. Well, I mean, here perhaps you were thinking more about ordinary people being bloggers and journalists. It's not like user-generated content. But also, I mean, like my answer would stay the same. This is amazing thing, and journalists should work together with citizen journalists, and get as much of from them as we can, and also curate and also help them explain and help them reach people. But again, be super skeptical, because they were not trained to check facts, and yeah, it's just very hard. But also, I mean, in our region, in the region where I work, the citizen groups, they're doing an incredible job. So say for the Boeing plane that was shut down by someone over Ukraine. So there were a bunch of citizen groups that were using open sources, YouTube and social networks. They tried to geolocate and find some pictures and track down the movements of allegedly Russian military equipment. And these reports are cited massively throughout all media. But again, just be really careful with them. Journalism role in contributing to democracy. Well, it's huge, but I don't think that's, I mean, journalism is big, but journalism is, well, it's big even in authoritarian regimes and in some other regimes as well. So yeah, for democratic states, it's essential, but it's essential to pretty much any country. What's your advice? Who wants to get started? I mean, just start writing about it. Pick your area. Choose your specialization. Say you want to be, person focusing on what Middle East. Then start learning languages. Start following media outlets from there, and start blogging about this. And maybe also talk to people who work in the region. So yeah, you've seen my advice. And well, nobody, luckily, from the journalists team, nobody got hurt. But well, you suddenly realize that, I mean, like, somebody may have shot with a powerful weapon, with a rifle, and you could have get wounded or killed. And the government building turned out to be not as safe as you may have expected it to be. So yeah, that was quite dangerous, I would say. Also, when you're reporting from rallies, and things also may go sour pretty soon. And well, again, if you're reporting from like the zone of conflict, that's again like totally different story. Luckily, I'm not a war reporter. I don't know much about conflict reporting, so I was more or less reporting from pretty peaceful regions. But even in those regions, I mean, people may get killed if they're onto something big. So yeah, stay safe. Okay, cool. I believe that was the last question, and I think I took way too much of your time already. But I don't want to end on this like really really dark note, like, hey, it's dangerous, it's conflicts, and people are getting killed. What's that?
Tell us what you love about your job.
Yeah, so yeah, I was going to say something positive. The big thing about international reporting, and well, reporting in general, I mean, you get to know so many different facets and so many different angles of of the country you're reporting from, of the people who live in that country, and of about many things that are happening. And this is incredible to me. I mean, perhaps the thing I love most about reporting is, and journalism, is that you're learning new things each and every day. And if you're in fields like technology, they're absolutely marvelous. But also in politics and economy and business, there are so many things happening, and there are so many ways you can explore the world we're living in. So if you're curious, like I am, I mean, it's just like endless endorphin boost. So yeah, it's, I mean, despite all the dangers, despite, oftentimes you don't get to sleep much, and you work long hours, long shifts. When you're onto something, and when you're learning something new, and when you file this story you've been working on for days or even weeks, and it's really good. I mean, like that sensation, that feeling is, I don't know, you cannot really compare it to anything in the world. So I really wish you all to have more moments like that in your life. And I really wish you great success. As I said, please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter with any questions you may have. And again, thank you so much for having me over. It was my pleasure to talk to you. And if at least couple of people from all your huge class would consider this helpful and interesting, I'd be super happy. Okay, but well, now it's time to go to sleep. So hope not for you guys. Okay, anyway, take care, and yeah, enjoyed it greatly. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.